Hey, 183. Going to start off with some personal news. Yesterday, I spent half a day at a production facility getting ready to be on a quiz show,
Oh my God, I
which is
can't believe
so I went out, I
believe
left
that.
the house. It's interesting to see how they do production. Where you get there, they give you a new mask. They make you put your old mask away because they want you in a fresh mask. They show you, everybody's social distanced, at a separate table. They've got a hand washing station. The whole thing. I spent about 4 hours there before they kicked me out.
Why? What happened?
I know too many people associated with the production. They said the S&P, the legal guy, the standards and practices guy.
Oh,
And it happened right
see?
after they took my picture for wardrobe, and then they ran it by the producers. And it could be that I just know too many people, or it could be that one of the producers was like, "Yeah, that's the fucking dickhead who sued a game show. Get rid of him." But,
Yeah, you got a lot of chutzpah.
yeah, so I got booted out, but I got a free lunch, a free, there's no more grazing from the craft services table. You get your own little bag of treats they give you. And you get your lunch in a box. Um, so
Well,
disappointed.
let me interrupt
Okay.
because if any of you people are fans of Rick, and I know that there are a lot of people that would do anything to see Rick, and I can tell you if there's free food involved, he's yours.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the free 6-inch Subway sub took some of the sting away. But I can tell you, based on my being part of a out and among people, that we are in the comfy pants era, where like I tell Carol that she needs to wear tighter pants to show off her attributes. And she says, "No, I want to be comfortable." Well, that's everybody now, because if you have to wear a fucking mask and wash your hands every 5 minutes and social distance, nobody wants the added discomfort of pants that are all riding up in you and smushing your junk, and it's loose clothing.
All right. Well, let's hope that that works out for you, Rick. I mean, after all,
The
I'm not
loose
sure you.
clothing. Oh, I also got a free
Yeah.
COVID test 2 days before showing up on set. I had to drive to the studio and had them swab my nose.
Well, so what were the results?
Well, I mean, they didn't kick me off for being COVIDy. They kicked me off for you know other shit. So I assume they wouldn't have let me on if I was positive for COVID.
Maybe
One more
you
thing before we go on to the.
maybe you knew too much.
Nah, you look at my history on quiz shows, and I know a lot, but I don't know a lot. The only show I just dominated to the point where everybody, including Ben Stein himself, was shocked, was Win Ben Stein's money. I just killed everybody. It was just a horrible slaughter. Um, um, but it was a run through practice
Wow.
episode, and I only got $50 for just being part of the run through thing. So I'm.
Okay.
But anyway, one more thought on competition shows in general. They are such a fucking ripoff. It's similar to big time collegiate sports and the athletes. The athletes at a Big Ten, Pac-12, whatever school, football, basketball, they make tens of millions of bucks a year for their program, and all they get is an incomplete education. Um, and the people on game shows, like Chopped is on all the time, and they bring in four chefs, and they work their asses off, and three chefs leave with nothing, and one chef leaves with 10 grand, which probably is only about 10% of the show's budget. And there are these other shows like Wipeout where they beat the shit out of you, or Joe Rogan's old show from 15 years ago that started off, each episode starts off with 24 contestants or so, and they put them through hell, just torture and eating like goat penises, and only one person leaves with any money at the end. And it's I mean, it's a decent amount of money. It's, I guess, back 50 grand, but it's really not, considering that, like, when I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that show was the most successful, most lucrative show in history. It made $1 billion in ad revenue that year. $1 billion fucking bucks. So, most quiz shows could afford to be more generous with the fucking contestants. Most contestants leave with nothing. And even with you, like one of those fucking cake bake-off shows where you spend 12 hours building a fucking Halloween cake that's 8 feet tall, and if you win, you leave with 10 grand. It's and the other teams leave with nothing. It's a little bit bullshit, all because of the glamour of TV. Oh, and Carol told me one more thing about the glamour of TV. Apparently, Disney's hurting. Apparently, I don't know if this is true. I just heard it third hand from Carol. The Disney execs, some of whom make $50 million a year, decided to take a cut in their salaries, and then they changed their mind. And after they changed their minds and took back their salaries, only then did Disney lay off 28,000 people. And that's kind of the entertainment industry in general, is a lot of people at the bottom and middle of the pyramid working for not great wages, and sometimes really shitty wages, out of a love for what's being made, and out of the hopes of eventually being at the top of the pyramid where you make $50 million a year. The end.
All right. Well, as of this date, October 22nd, the governor, in a pretty surly manner, told the theme parks that they couldn't open up, and that he had no idea when they'd be able to open up. Actually, he said, sure, you can open up when you're in what is known as the yellow tier. The yellow tier is the level where there are no new cases of the virus in the whole county, which means it's virtually impossible. Now, this doesn't just affect Disney. This puts 250,000 people out of work, and the mayors of
You're
Anaheim.
saying in the county of Anaheim, which leans to Disney.
In the county of
City of Anaheim.
In Orange County, and in Universal City, where Universal Studio is, there are 3 giant theme parks: Knott's Berry Farm, Disneyland, and Universal City. Universal Studios, and all 3 have been shut down for the foreseeable future.
Also, Magic Mountain. There's another one.
I don't know if they're shut down. Oh, yeah, they are. So
plus, then you go to San Diego, you got SeaWorld. So there's a shitload of.
Yeah, and the governor. Okay, so there are hundreds of thousands of jobs at stake, and they're not at stake. They're over. They're done. The hotels, the restaurants, everything's closed around the theme parks, including the theme parks. The governor is planning on shutting San Diego down, after shutting it down, opening it up, and shutting it down again. Meanwhile, at this very morning, it was announced that remdesivir has been completely approved by the FDA. It's not an emergency approval. It's a complete approval for treatment of the Wuhan virus. That's the first thing.
Well, it's a treatment, but it doesn't cure everybody.
Well, you don't know a goddamn thing about it, Rick. So just listen, Rick. If the FDA says it's an effective treatment for Wuhan, then I don't need to hear
They
you
just
sitting
approved
on the
it, but
couch
they didn't
next
say
to a
it fucking
reindeer.
cures it in everybody.
Rick, I
And
don't care. I don't care. I'll take my chances. Just you Democrats, leave me and my state alone. We've got an effective treatment, and we're going to
yeah,
have a
it
new.
knocks fucking mortality
Why
down
are
by
you interrupting me?
30%.
Why are you interrupting me?
I know,
Is
because
this
you
an
say it's a fucking cure. It's not a cure. It's a
Rick,
treatment. There's a
Rick, Rick,
difference.
Rick? The FDA says it's an effective treatment,
Okay.
and the president announced today that we will have a vaccine within weeks. So there's no reason for the country to be locked down except that Democrats are assholes. There's no science behind it anymore.
All right. So there, you all these theme parks are closed, but there's one roller coaster you can still go on. Can you guess what it is?
No.
Oh, come on, you can get anyway. It's the roller coaster where today we had the second most new cases of COVID in history. Back up above 70,000 new cases a day. We're back in the 1,000 deaths a day range. So this is the third like spike in COVID, and we're as as bad in containing the fucking disease as we've ever been. Uh, Within the next couple of weeks, we'll probably set a new daily record for cases. Um,
Unless they distribute hydroxychloroquine,
no,
remdesivir, and they come out,
hydroxychloroquine. There
don't
are
interrupt me, don't interrupt me. Unless they distribute hydroxychloroquine, remdesivir, the antibody Regeneron, and the vaccine comes out. So I realize you want it excites you. It makes you kind of thrilled when the
I'm not
disease.
fucking thrilled.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I can see anybody watching the screen can see how excited you get when
No,
more
I'm
people are
thrilled to
dying.
tell you you're full of
I,
shit
I
on this stuff where remdesivir doesn't cure everybody.
well, why did the
The
FDA say it was an effective treatment? I mean,
effective
why should I listen to you instead of the FDA?
well, just fucking, I mean, don't listen to either of us. Go online and look at the studies and see that it reduces, severity by about 30% the way every other effective treatment does. And the immune serum, what do you call it? The
Regeneron.
monoclonal antibody serum. They only have, I mean, yeah, that stuff seems like the best shit you can get, um, but only a couple dozen people in America had been given it,
All right.
except as part
Can
of
we
a.
move on?
But wait, they might have 100,000 doses of it ready to go. But that's only at the rate that people are getting sick. That's a day and a half worth of people getting sick. 8.6 million Americans have gotten the COVID, and they only have 100,000 fucking doses of this shit so far.
Okay.
And the
Well,
vaccine, like Trump can say, yeah, it'll be ready in a few weeks. Even he's saying that it won't be ready. He used to say it would be ready before Election Day. Now he's saying the vaccine will be ready before the end of 2020. But people like Fauci are saying, no, that you're looking at like spring 2021 for the vaccine, and even later to have enough doses to hit a majority of Americans. So we're still contending with it. You can still go out and you can still now. You and I think, agree more than we disagree about the theme parks. I think because I went out and I felt reasonably confident that I could do this fucking quiz show, spend a day, around a bunch of people, and you know that they seemed to, they had a COVID officer there, who was there just to make sure that people were doing shit right. And under those conditions, I felt reasonably confident I wasn't going to get infected. And we've discussed that, like Disney World, seems to be able to be open. They're still open, right? Florida doesn't give a fuck, right?
Florida has unlocked, and their numbers are reasonable.
Well, not. I mean, I'd argue with you about Florida in general, but Disney World in particular
They
seems to
haven't
do
they
okay.
haven't tra- they haven't traced any deaths to theme parks,
Yeah.
and the latest studies I've seen say that children are practically unable to transmit it. So the schools should all be open too. But the Democrats
Yeah.
don't want that normalcy. They love the virus. I'm not saying, Rick, that you want people to die, but you love what this is doing to the president. You love hammering Republicans with it when it was really Democrats that did the worst with this because they put people with COVID in the rest homes in all the
Yeah, you
major
love to say
Democrat
that, but
states.
if you look at the actual fucking numbers, at some point, maybe the Democratic governors owned, maybe half of the deaths for that fuck up. But since then, the numbers of other people dying from the shit um, have continued to grow to where the point, the Democratic governors now own, I don't know, 10% or 15% of all the deaths from COVID in America.
No,
Because
I would
because
say
now
I would
we're
say it's
now at
much more than that.
228,000 dead, and
Well,
and
they
some people
continue
argue, some
they
people who are good at math argue that it's 300,000 dead from via excess mortality, where you compare the number of dead Americans on October 22nd, today, in 2020, to the number of dead Americans dead for the past 5 years. And the number is 300,000 higher compared to this point in all the past years. And, most of those are from COVID. Some of them are from people putting off medical treatment because they don't want to fucking go to the hospital in the middle of COVID. Um, but it's at least 228,000, and it could be closer to 300,000.
okay, I think the audience is being driven out of their mind
Okay.
because we say the exact same thing every week.
All right. So let's move
And
on to the debate
so,
if you want.
yeah. Okay.
I
So,
thought only two things happened in the debate that are of note. Um, One, Trump was constrained, whether by his own self or by his handlers or by the the threat of having his mic cut off by the moderator, but he was much less interrupty, um, more, like a normal person in a debate rather, and I think that served him well. And then Biden said a thing that I think has the potential to hurt him in certain states. And where towards the end of the debate, Biden said that he wants fossil fuels phased out by 2035. And at one point he fucked up and he said 2025 instead of 2035. Um, or actually, I don't know if he said fossil fuels phased. I think he said phased out by 2050, but zero carbon emissions by 2035, which everybody understood to mean, unless you read the explainer after the debate, that he wants oil gone in America by 2035. And I think this has the potential to hurt him in the oil states, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Texas, wherever, the states that have huge oil industries.
I also think he made a big mistake because uh, he didn't say that he wouldn't have any more lockdowns. In a vote between, first of all, I agree with you in the last thing you said, Rick. And I also think that in a country hungry to end the lockdowns, uh, Trump wins because everybody in Wisconsin and Michigan that is desperate to get the hell out of their lockdown is going to vote for Trump now. I think he won the Wisconsin and Michigan tonight because while he was saying how rotten it is that Michigan is locked down, Biden was, he wouldn't come out and say that he would end the lockdowns. He was kind of favorable toward them, whereas Trump was unequivocally against them, and I think that won him a couple of states right there.
I disagree for a couple of
Well,
reasons. One is that um, he didn't say he wants lockdowns. He just said that he'd only do them if, the experts said they were necessary. And I don't know if he denied it forcefully enough, but I understood it. Maybe because I'm on Biden's side, but I understood it to mean that, he doesn't want, that huge national lockdowns are unlikely. Yeah, he failed to distinguish between a national mask mandate and a national lockdown. And I think a lot of people are unclear about the difference. Um, where, I think for the next fucking year and a half, we look like an Asian country where, a big chunk of the population is walking around in masks.
yeah,
But that's
that
not a lockdown, that's a mask deal. But anyway, you might be right that he lost some votes in some sensitive states. I mean, there's some defiant states. South Dakota, with their governor, is like, look what we did. We're standing up for liberty, but they've got like their number of new cases are spiking, so anyway. But the other thing is that 50 million people have already voted, which is more than a third of people who voted in 2016, and probably about 30% of the people who will vote this year. So that's already locked in. Um, because the thing with fucking, I remember it was the same thing in 2016 where Hillary was hanging on to a lead, and I was like, come on, everybody fucking vote early before she loses her lead. And in fact, she lost her fucking lead, and not enough people had voted early, um, and she lost. And here, like about 4 times as many people have voted early compared to this many days before the election 4 years ago. But I'm still worried about the same thing. Like, come on, everybody, hurry up and vote early before Biden says something that loses him votes, or before you guys come up with some shit that acts like the October surprise. You're trying really hard with the Tony Bobulinski and the Hunter Biden laptop shit, but so far it hasn't been really sticking. But still, it's a race against time, where elections get tighter as the closer you get to election day. Um, and so every day I fucking look at all the fucking, polls.
all right. Well, first of all, uh, I think, Rick, you're going to have to get used to the idea that you may not win the election. Okay? Because
Yeah, I'm
I know
aware of
that
that.
in our last conversation, you were you presented a very morose picture for your future if Biden loses. And I think you're going to have to, I'm going to have to do some on-air therapy here
Well,
and
hold
get
on,
you.
because you're not. I remember at the end of our last discussion, I said that I would have to turn in to our skittish dog.
Yeah, it sounded really bad. And
Well, then just where.
I want you to survive this. You know, I don't want you to be depressed. I mean, I imagine you'll be depressed, but I don't want you to, go have to be medicated or anything. So it looks like Biden lost Michigan tonight, and it looks because the
But
Michiganders.
what are you basing this on?
I was about to tell you, but you just interrupted me.
Okay, I mean, but are polls or
Are
anything, or
you
just
going to
how you
interrupt me
feel?
again? Are you going to interrupt me again?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the Michiganders despise the lockdown. Now, I know Democrats love the lockdown, but Trump was the anti-lockdown candidate tonight, and he even mentioned Michigan. And so that and the fact that Trump brought the auto industry back to Michigan is giving him a lead in Michigan. Now, I realize that I guess I have to share this with you, but let me finish my point. So don't interrupt me. You sort of spoke at great length. So I'm going to tell you some things you need to hear.
Hmm.
The first is that there are polls now showing Trump ahead in Michigan. And to go back to the debate, I believe Biden lost Pennsylvania too, with his anti-oil industry and fossil fuel industry talk that he gave. I mean, Pennsylvania does not want to hear that there will be no mining and no oil and no fracking. And Biden was just terrible on that tonight if you cared about those things.
Well, he didn't
So
say no fracking. He said no
don't
fracking on federal land.
yeah, but then he went on to dig a hole for himself where he said, I want to get rid of fossil fuels in 15 years, which is the wink of an eye in most people that are, if, I guess. So the next thing is, but I am basing this on polls, Rick. I don't know I guess you're out of the loop on this, but the early voting is showing Trump ahead. And here's
Actually,
how.
no, I can cite
No,
chapter and
no, no,
verse.
Rick, don't interrupt me.
Okay.
All right, so here's the situation. Um, they don't know who the Republicans and Democrats are voting for, but they do know how many Republicans are voting and how many Democrats are voting. That's public knowledge.
That's right.
So what's happening is this. The Democrats have done polling and they found that for some reason Democrats shoot their wad in early voting. That's when that's when they get their most votes, and then the Republicans are the ones that go to the polls. That's whenever they've done a survey. Are you going to the polls or are you voting early? That's how it breaks down. Well, it turns out that in the swing states, the Democrats are either behind or have a slight lead. And if they have a slight lead, it's not going to do them enough good because it's going to be overwhelmed when the Republicans go to the polls on election day, the 3rd. That's mathematical. Now, when it comes to states like Michigan, Arizona, um, they are slightly behind. And in any of these polls, in any swing state where it shows the Democrats are neck and neck, it means they're going to lose on election day. They have to be way ahead in the early polling or in the early voting, or they won't be able to make up for it on election day.
I buy your argument, but looking at the numbers, I don't think it's as bad as all that for Biden. So about 49.3 million people have voted. States, they report different things. Some states don't any that out of about what 20 million votes in from states where the states report the party affiliation of the voter. Um, Democrats are ahead of Republicans by about votes, which would be good, except that 1.6 million of that lead comes from California alone. So that anyway, that leaves a lead of 3.8 million. And with in-person voting versus mail-in voting, the Democrats and Republicans are virtually tied. But that's based on only a sample of about 1 million votes out of 49 million votes cast, because not that many states report that shit. So it's hard to know, but um, the voting is, as is you take the nation as a whole, it's overwhelmingly uh, Democrats, and you're right. A lot of it comes from definitely blue states. So I'm going to have to look closer at the stats to see how worried I should be. I think if we go into election day with 80 million votes having been cast early, and with Democrats having a 10 million vote lead among states that report, I think we're still in decent shape. But you might be right. Um,
All right. Well, I mean, I can I could go over numbers, but we'd have to shut the show down,
yeah,
and you'll find out the hard way on the third.
yeah.
Um, I, you know,
Well, no, not probably not on the third because we won't have results that night.
yeah. All right. Well, that's another Democrat invention is that they like to have uh, they they like to have late ballots that they keep counting for weeks and weeks and weeks so that they can sue and try to win the election in the courts. So,
You guys are the guys who like to. You guys have been suing all over the. Well, actually, no. Both sides have been suing for
no,
mostly for their own. The
what,
reasons consistent with the party strategies.
well, let's not deny reality. Republicans are against early voting and we're against mail-in voting, and we want all the results November 3rd, election day. That is our official policy. So this weird uh, strange, chaotic system that the Democrats like, it favors fraud, and that's why you're doing it. Uh,
No, no. All right. So, I mean, we can probably agree about. We can't agree. Like Biden likes to. He's got this story he tells that takes too long to tell. He says never impugn your opponent's motive. Um, Only impugn the fucking. I don't know the policy stances or some shit like that because you don't know what. Anyway, the deal. So motive aside. Um, Republicans, you guys tend to, yeah, like to have strict rules for voting and
yeah,
make it
sorry.
that effectively make it harder to vote. And
No.
Democrats like to make voting as convenient as possible.
Okay.
And
Well, we've already gone over the 1,200 cases of voter fraud. We found voter fraud in Michigan, where they were driving around with hundreds of ballots in their cars. We found voter fraud in Minnesota. We found voter fraud all around the country. We found 1 million extra voters on the rolls in Los Angeles. And none of these Democrat cities or governors would take the names off the rolls until they were sued. So that's what you guys like. You like the chaos because you can't win. You can't win unless you cheat. And my feeling now is that the Republicans are going to win so big that Democrat chicanery won't be able to change the outcome after the election.
well,
That's my
let's
hope.
talk of let's. I mean, I got to give you a few more numbers then, because um, the polls look different this year in that in 26 because the pollsters were chastened, they were humiliated by Trump winning in 2016, so they're trying to be uh, better. Also, the lead between Hillary and Trump kept flipping all over the place in the for the 3 months leading up to the election. In this election, the polls are being, I think, conducted better, and Biden's lead has remained solid and big over Trump for months now, and it's not decaying at the rate that Hillary's did. Um, and if you look at the two big aggregators, where they take all the polls and roll them into one ball, one aggregator gives Trump a 12% chance of winning. The other one it gives Trump between a 7 and an 8% chance of winning. And there's a third one I found that gives Trump a 12% chance of winning.
Yeah, you said that last time we spoke. So
Yeah, it hasn't changed the last time. I mean, it's pretty steady. I think
okay.
it may change by like 0.5% or maybe a full percent, because Trump did not humiliate himself in this debate. A CNN poll has Biden winning the debate, one of those Insta polls, 53 to 39%, which for Trump that's a win. That it was, it's CNN, and it wasn't a shellacking. So yeah, Trump could pick up a percent or two, and his odds for winning could go from 12% to 15%. Fucking, I don't know.
Okay. So now I'm going to talk, right?
Okay.
I think that the polls have not changed their methods. And I also believe that most of the polls that you're reading are what is known as suppression polls. Okay? They're polls that are done by Democrats. The pollsters themselves don't care about their reputation. They're Democrats. And their goal is to keep Republicans demoralized and to keep Republicans from donating money to the Trump campaign. I don't believe the polls, and in fact, this week, a member of the Biden campaign sent out a memo telling Democrats that these polls are inflated, that the Biden lead is inflated, and that they shouldn't become complacent.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah. So
I agree about the complacency. Yeah.
all right, but I mean the point is that the Biden campaign had to send this memo out. I read it, and it said that look, the race is very close, and these polls are inflated, and what matters, if you're interested, is if you look at the electoral map, if the Democrats win all the states they normally win, New York, Illinois, California, and the Republicans win all the states they normally win, like Texas and Kansas and Louisiana, then that leaves 10 swing states. And the two most important ones are Florida and Ohio. Trump has Ohio. There's no doubt about it. Florida, maybe. That's a horse race. But then if Trump wins the states he normally wins, and Florida and Ohio, then he only has to win a few of the other swing states, one or two. And it looks like he got Pennsylvania and Michigan tonight.
Well, we don't know. You got to wait for polls. But anyway, I can disprove what you said about the polls I look at, because I don't look at individual polls. I only go to the poll aggregator sites where
I
they
know,
take.
and they're aggregating.
Hold on, because you're wrong. Because the poll aggregators take pollsters across the political spectrum. Now, pollsters shouldn't have a fucking political slants, but they fucking do. And the aggregators take all these pollsters, like Rasmussen, consistently gives Trump his highest approval numbers, right?
Yeah, one of them.
And then there's another pollster, IBD. I probably stands for International Business Daily. Again, high
Investor
numbers for
base.
Trump. Those guys are in the mix. And then the aggregator looks at how accurate these pollsters have been over, years and decades if they've been in business that long, and then it rates them for accuracy, and then if it has to, it kind of corrects, any systematic bias they've found. So you get these numbers that have been adjusted to reflect uh, all this stuff, and you've got, I don't want to look at individual polls because they're deceptive, but if you're looking at every single motherfucking pollster, um, I think you get a better idea.
No, I
Um,
don't think you do, Rick. I mean, you're fooling yourself because there are there are CNN polls, ABC polls. These are suppression polls. They're
no,
just
these are
trying to make
polls that are
Biden look
ranked
good.
like, did you look at ABC over the past 5 elections? Did How close was ABC, and did their results lean one way or the other? And if so, that gets corrected for.
All right.
And I don't
Look,
just look
this
at
isn't
one of
very.
these
Yeah,
aggregators because maybe the aggregator is fucked up. Right now. I'm looking at 2 and 3 if I can find them because the third doesn't update fast enough. And I'm
well, I don't
also
know if people are interested in this anymore. Let's
all
move
right.
on.
So let's. Do we have anything else to talk about, or should we?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Today, Hunter Biden's business partner gave an interview, made a speech, a press conference, where he said that he was the business partner of Hunter Biden. There's no doubt about that. He says that what was on the laptop was true. Uh, Hunter Biden's laptop indicates that he and Joe Biden, his father, are in business together selling American policy to China, the Ukraine, and anybody else that will pay them. And he has uh, he has 3 cell phones, all of which have phone calls, dates, texts, where he says that it's all true. That Biden has been accepting millions of dollars of bribes, and they've got the documents and they've got the texts. And I
Now,
actually go ahead.
did this guy Tony Bobolinsky say? Did the words that Joe Biden has been getting millions of dollars come out of his
Yes,
mouth?
yeah, pretty much. I mean,
No, not pretty much, but okay, go ahead.
Rick, what he said was that Joe Biden is the big guy. And he knows that because he spent an hour talking with Joe Biden, learning about all their business deals before he went into business with Hunter, and that they'd had contacts since then, exchanged emails, texts. He says that whenever it says the big guy will be getting a kickback of several $1 million, it's referring to Joe Biden, the senior Biden, the vice president. And he said that he was involved in a deal where Joe Biden was getting millions from China, and that there were many others. And not only did he say that, but he says he has the emails and the texts to prove it. But beyond being himself a witness, maybe he's lying, he's verifying everything that it says on Hunter Biden's laptop. So um, a year ago, I gave you a chance to admit that Biden was pressuring the Ukraine because his son was on the board
Yeah,
of
that's
the
been
company.
entirely debunked. I
You
mean, we
all,
can have
this
that
is where
argument
you
again if
interrupt me.
you want,
This
but
is where you interrupt me. This is where you interrupt me. It's fascinating. Every time I try to get this story out, you interrupt me. Now, you're not going to keep me from speaking. This is a two-man show. Now, a year ago, I told you that Biden was on tape telling the Ukraine that they were not going to get $1 billion unless they fired the prosecutor that was prosecuting the company his son worked for. And you said, oh, that's totally debunked. Well, guess what, Rick? You should have changed your mind then, because now you're looking like a fool. You're looking like a man that can't accept reality. Because last week, they brought out the laptop that said, in fact, Joe Biden was getting money from Burisma. Not Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. And now, but he wouldn't accept it then. That was 4 days ago. It was all debunked. It was all debunked in your opinion. In fact, you speculated that it was the Russians. Well, now, this morning, the business partner that was in on all the deals, he's CC'd on the emails. They went to him.
This Tony Bobulinski, the one deal he was pursuing with Hunter Biden, that deal fell apart. So this guy actually did 0 deals that happened.
But Biden and Hunter told him what they're up to. Okay? And he says, yes, Biden is accepting both Bidens. And frankly, if you give $1 billion to the son, that affects the father. They're both trying to sell foreign policy and influence by being bribed by foreign countries.
Okay, and if I click over to this thing, can you still see me? Here, let me do this for a sec. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. Can I just do this? This guy says it better than I can.
No, why don't you watch his interview? Why don't you actually watch his press conference? Did you watch his press conference, or do you have to hear what the Democrats told you he said?
No, I saw like just very little of it. I saw that.
You saw 10 seconds, and then the Democrats came in and said, he's lying, right, Rick?
Well, yeah, let me read what the Democrats are saying.
I don't give a shit what the Democrats said.
No, but
I
you
want
get
you
to say what you get to say your deal, but then I get to say my deal.
Yeah, so, but why don't you listen to the actual person?
Because this is in response. This is a guy named Judd Legum. In a statement released to the New York Post, which is the newspaper of record in Laptop Gate, Bobulinski describes himself as CEO of Sinohawk Holdings, which was a partnership between the Chinese operating through and the Biden family. This actually isn't true. In texts and emails released to the Wall Street Journal, Bobulinski acknowledges he was planning to do business with Biden, but the entire deal fell through. In the summer of 2017, Bobulinski never did any business with Biden. So Bobulinski is claiming that Joe Biden somehow profited from a partnership with Hunter that never existed. Bobulinski claims that Joe had an ownership stake in the company, Sinohawk Holdings. But wait, Bobulinski is CEO of this company. All right, fucking then it gets...
Rick, can I talk now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and don't interrupt me. Now, okay. because I'm not trying to brainwash myself, can you turn that off, Rick, so you can pay attention?
Yes.
Because I'm not, unlike yourself, you want to be brainwashed. You don't want to face the facts. So what I did was I actually listened to the man's press conference. It's only about 6 minutes long. And he explains that what happened was they set up a company with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and I believe $5 million was exchanged, and Bobulinski, I think that's his name.
From whom to whom? Who to go to?
The Chinese gave the money to Hunter, and of that money, a percentage of it went to his father, Joe Biden. And what happened was Bobulinski said that you're not allowed to take that money. That money has to be distributed into the company, and then we take it with a board of trustees and supervisors, and it's distributed in an organized manner. You just took this $5 million and kept it for yourself and gave part to your father. And so, since if you're going to do things like that, I'm not going to go into business with you. So what happened was you just read an article that tried to make that seem like Bobulinski is lying. So it deceived you, Rick. What really happened was, yes, it's true. They dissolved their partnership because Hunter and Joe were stealing or taking a share that Bobulinski didn't think they deserved.
Isn't Bobulinski suing, or hasn't he sued a bunch of like Biden plus other partners? And is he
I don't know, but I can tell you that he's CC'd in the emails on the laptop when Joe and Hunter are making their sneaky deals with foreign countries.
One more thing, though. All this deal making happened, if all this stuff that we're talking about happened in 2017
Yeah,
after
I know.
Joe Biden was out of office.
That particular deal was. But the thing that I've never understood, I need to explain something to you and the viewers. Don't interrupt me. This will take a minute, okay? When a country bribes the Vice President of the United States, they don't have to give Joe Biden $1 billion. What they do is they give his son or his brother. For example, Joe Biden's brother, James, got a several $100 million deal in Iraq. The Chinese gave Hunter $1.5 billion to invest. The mayor of Moscow's wife gave Hunter $3.5 million, and we don't know what it was for. Now, you have to understand this, Rick, because I know you're not a little child. If all of these people are giving money to the son and the brother of Joe Biden, then he's getting something out of that. And you see, when they make the RICO laws, the laws that
right, hold on. So let me agree with you about something where you make a good point that Joe Biden's guilty of this stuff, though I don't believe he is. But if he were, it makes more sense that he would do it for the benefit of his relatives rather than for his own benefit, because Joe and Jill Biden, no, hold on, we're doing fine on their own. That Joe and Jill, in the year after he left the vice presidency, they made like 12 to 15 million bucks in book deals and giving speeches. Okay. So they don't need a shitload of money. So no, but hold on. So if Biden is fucking, we
got your point. We got your point. Okay, we got your point.
That
it's for the good of his family.
Doesn't care about enriching himself. He's an old man. Yeah, you care about setting up his family members.
We got it. Now,
okay.
I want you to understand how the laws work when it comes to bribery. Now, don't interrupt me. Mm-hmm. So some of our viewers may not understand this because it's kind of obscure, but it's perfectly logical. Supposing you're the mayor of a town and somebody gives your wife $100,000. By law, it's your money too. Same with your son, same with your father. So when they investigate a politici for taking a bribe, the politician can't say, well, the Russians gave my son $3.5 million, but it has nothing to do with me. No, that's not true. So all these millions of dollars coming from Iraq and from the Ukraine and from Russia and from China, all these millions, and it amounted to billions, coming in from these countries, according to the way we in America perceive bribery, the is partly going to Joe Biden, even if you can't prove it, even if you don't have an email, because it's his immediate family, and we don't make distinguishments. We don't distinguish things like that because it would be childlike. You'd have to be an idiot to think that he's not benefiting.
Okay.
However, the laptop and this new witness say no. In fact, he's getting 10% of all the money that his brother and his son are getting. And so my question to you is this. We've got a laptop with emails and texts. It turns out, listen to this, that a year ago the FBI seized this laptop. They had a copy of it. They had a copy of the hard drive. And they've been investigating Biden for over a year. They just didn't make it public. So not only is the FBI and Giuliani talking about this, but we now have a witness, and we've got all these emails and texts. And finally, one last thing, in case you're going to say that it's the Russians that are behind it, it turns out that the FBI and the head of national intelligence both said we have virtually no evidence that Russians have anything to do with this.
Well, hold on.
So for you
DNI,
to say,
you mean Ratcliffe? I saw. No, you
but
asked
the
me.
head of the FBI said it too, and the Justice Department.
So,
They've
all
they
right.
all,
The Justice
wait. Listen to me. You're going to say those are Republicans, but that's all the intelligence we have. We don't have any other intelligence agencies that are saying this comes from the Russians. The only
right.
people.
So it may not have come from the Russians. If it was when it was offered up for sale in 2019, it was offered for sale in Ukraine. No, but let's talk about so Bill Barr runs the Justice Department. Bill Barr's the same. This is the same Justice Department when that has argued. They argued this yesterday. A woman, E. Jean Carroll, claims she was raped in a Lord and Taylor, I think, dressing at a department store dressing room by Trump in the 90s. And Trump called her a lying, whatever. He called her a bunch of shit, and so she's suing him for libel. And the Justice Department is arguing that that Trump can't be sued for libel or slander because the shit he said about her, he said officially in his duties as president. So that's the Justice Department. The DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, this Ratcliffe guy, was rejected once for being, well, unqualified, but eventually they got him in. He's a Trump lackey. And I said I'd look into this, and I looked into it a little. I read a couple Breitbart articles, and you said the signature had been verified. And anyway, I mean, what needs to be said is that there's still a gazillion news agencies. Fox News itself was originally reluctant to present this as news because the whole fucking thing was so shaky. And on the surface of it, it looks shaky. Like, remember last time in 2016 when a laptop belonging to Anthony Weiner and Huma Abedin took down Hillary? Well, here's another laptop full of incriminating shit. And it just, the whole thing looks shaky, and a lot of legitimate news agencies, I haven't seen the balance of legit versus not legit, but most of the ones that I've seen and looking around are not buying it.
Rick, may I please interject now? Are you done?
I guess so.
Do you realize that none of the statements you made had anything to do with what is really on the laptop and what I said and what the witness is saying? Well, listen, wait. Let me explain.
All right.
Telling me
by Burisma. Now the three and a
Yeah,
half
yeah.
million.
Yeah, all right. So why is he getting all this money?
Well,
What is
for
he?
one
What
thing,
is?
he runs a fucking hedge. He and his
Yeah, I
partner.
know. But Rick, I realize technically he runs businesses, but you have to understand he'd never even been to the Ukraine, and yet he's getting millions from the Ukraine, and we now have a letter, as I said last week, from Burisma thanking, asking Biden to intercede on behalf of them to get this prosecutor off their back. And then we've got a letter thanking Hunter for arranging the meeting with his father.
So,
And then he got $3 million from Burisma. And you're telling me that nothing stinks, everything's fine?
well, no, I can tell you what stinks, but let me ask you a couple questions. Of the people on the Burisma board, because Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma along with, I don't know, probably another dozen or dozen and a half other people. How many
You
of
don't
those?
know the number. You're going to ask me if I know the names and occupations of
No,
all the
I
board
would ask
members?
you. Now, I've read about the Burisma board, where Burisma, like fucking Ukraine is it's there's a lot of corruption going on there.
Okay, so Rick, why
So hold
is
on,
it?
let
Why
me say
is it
some
if
fucking let
there's
me
a
say
lot?
some words. So at some point, Burisma decides we need to look more legit. Let's establish an international board of directors. And I would be curious among all the international board of directors, the members of that board, how many of them went to fucking Ukraine? They got a bunch of people from around the world who sounded legit to be on their board to make the company sound legit. And they paid them nicely apparently. And uh,
Well, what if Biden got some of that money? And according to the laptop, he's been getting 10% of whatever Hunter made. What do you think about that?
well, there's
While
the
he was, wait
there
a
are
minute, while he was vice president.
there are all these there's shit that's undeniably true, and some of it's on the laptop. There are pictures of Hunter Biden in a bathtub smoking a cigarette. There's a picture of Hunter Biden
No,
apparently
don't divert.
asleep with a
Don't divert. Don't
no
divert.
no
I'm
but of
asking
the
you a
shit
direct
of
question.
the damaging shit, the super damaging shit, none of it's been verified. None of
No,
it.
it has been. Rick, we've got the emails where Hunter
Yeah, but
says,
the
my
fucking email,
father, where he says,
no
Pops,
legitimate fucking news source has just
I've read the
concluded that these
emails. I don't.
emails aren't
Okay,
bullshit.
okay, Rick, listen to me. I've read the emails with my eyes. I don't need to hear what your newspapers tell you to think about them. The emails say we are giving half the money to Pops.
I've
We
seen
are
that
giving
email.
10.
It said it
What?
doesn't. I've seen the email where it says 10% to the big guy
Yeah, that's
question mark.
Biden. According to the new witness who was in business with them, that's Joe Biden.
Okay,
Who is
but
the
like,
big guy?
but 10%. There was no fucking deal to for him to get 10% of
No,
because the
no.
deal.
According to the witness, he always got 10%. And according to Biden, according to Hunter Biden, he gets anywhere from half to 10%. He uses the word pops. That's the word he uses for his father.
Okay,
Pops.
but none of this shit has been substantiated. You've
Well,
got
it is substantiated because the emails have all borne out. There are people on the emails that are responding and saying, yes, this is an email I got. I was there. I was at that meeting. There are even emails from the companies that sent the money. That's how they're double checking. They're not just looking at the laptop, they're
all right.
following
So
up the
anyway, so
email.
this Tony Bobolinsky just surfaced today, I guess,
Oh, he's a
right?
very bad man, right? Is he a very bad man?
But no. But an apparent he
No,
said that he's
he was
only
on
hold
the
on. He said like he's got shit that speaks to him not having a political bias
he
against
said he was a
Biden.
Democrat. He said he was a
I'm
Democrat.
saying, yeah, that he claims that that he's only ever given to Democratic candidates. So, but
Yes.
he's only been in the public eye for like 12 hours. So I want to see over the next couple days whether this guy bears out as being credible and authentic. You're ready to grant him total credibility after one news
Well,
conference.
I am, and I'll tell you why. Because a laptop that you told me didn't belong to Hunter Biden turns out it's absolutely Hunter Biden's laptop. No one has denied it. The Biden
A lot of
campaign has
people are
not denied.
fucking, all
No,
these
no,
news
no, but
organizations say
not
it.
Biden. I don't care about the news stations.
So
Joe
you've got
Biden
it
has
from
not
Hunter
denied it.
Biden himself says that's his laptop.
He hasn't denied it. We have
What?
his signature. Rick,
You said the
neither
signature's been verified. It
Rick,
hasn't
Rick,
been
Rick,
verified. You said the
Rick,
signature. He signed it.
Rick.
There's a receipt with a, allegedly signed by Hunter Biden when he dropped off the laptop.
And also,
And
there's
you
an
told me
email from his
that
lawyer.
signature's been verified. I looked around.
Rick,
It hasn't been verified.
Rick, there's an email from his lawyer asking for his laptop back. And furthermore, when
Did
they've
the
asked,
lawyer say that he sent a so well,
yes, there's an email from the Biden attorney asking for his laptop back. When they found out that they left it, they asked for it back.
yeah.
Now, Rick, beyond that, I saw an interview with a Biden family spokesman, and they said, and the person said, is this his laptop? Are these emails authentic? Are these emails not authentic? And she said, no, they're essentially they are authentic. They're not denying that this is Hunter Biden's laptop. And on this laptop, it says that they're going to give millions of dollars from these deals with communist countries to Joe Biden.
All right. So, I mean, it's Thursday. We're doing this again on Sunday. I'll read up more on it. And
Well,
I
instead of
mean,
just reading the New York Times telling you
no,
avert your
that's
eyes,
not what
nothing
I
to see
did.
here,
That's not what I fucking
why
did.
don't you read the actual emails from the actual laptop?
No, fucking what I did was I looked through, I tried to go to conservative sources to get more extensive coverage. Um,
Did you read the Post article? They're the people breaking the story. Why don't you read the Post article?
because everybody's saying the post coverage has been
Rick, Rick,
garbage. So I
Rick,
went to
Rick.
Breitbart. You like Breitbart, right? You
Yeah,
trust
no,
Breitbart.
Breitbart's fine, but my point is this. It is very peculiar that Biden is giving his is introducing his son to all these leaders. He went on Air Force Two whenever Biden went to a country, and when they leave the country, Biden's son has made a deal for millions of dollars. This has happened with Kazakhstan, the Ukraine. I don't know if he went to the Ukraine, but it happened in China. He introduced him to the Chinese Communist Party, and they gave millions to Hunter Biden. Your man has been getting millions of dollars in bribes. Does that bother you?
If true, yeah, but I'm not. A lot of the shit you tell me when I poke at it, it falls apart.
Well,
So I mean,
why do you think the FBI has got a copy of this laptop a year ago and has been doing an investigation all this
well,
time?
the guy who owned the computer shop opened up the laptop. Well, he was
No,
working on the laptop.
The FBI has admitted that they have a copy
Yeah,
and
but
that
the guy called up the FBI.
yeah, but they've actually had something. I don't know what the word for it is. It's very diplomatic. It's filed with them. There's a word, money laundering. That's it. It's called money laundering because instead of Joe Biden getting the money, it goes to his son. So they've
Okay,
got it
so
filed under
anyway, what
money
I'm
laundering.
saying is, I need to do. You've made a bunch of allegations.
All
You
right,
claim
let's
they've
go.
all
Let's
been,
finish
they,
up.
you claim everything you've read has been substantiated, and all I'm saying is,
Well, why do you think there's a guy in Delaware that claims he's got a receipt for the Hunter Biden laptop? Well, where did, just out of curiosity, what do you think happened? Do you think a guy in
I think
Delaware
they,
got this fake signature from Hunter Biden and then gave it to the FBI so that he could be accused of making something up and that
yeah,
laptop
I think so.
is
Yeah, I
totally
think
invented?
exactly that. I
So
think
this guy that worked at a laptop store, repair store, planned the whole thing?
no, they found a guy. They fished around to find a guy who'd help them execute this planning of bullshit. This
Well,
compromise.
how do you explain all these deals that there's no one's denying? How do
Well,
you
so,
explain all these millions of dollars going to Hunter Biden,
well,
who was a crack
obviously,
addict?
fucking, it's
He's not a master investor.
obviously fucking Hunter Biden leveraged his position as the son of the former or current one, depending on when the deal was made. He leveraged that to get business for his hedge fund. I mean,
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
so
why did
like,
they?
I
But
mean,
is
would
he does
you
he
like?
just invented it. He's not an expert. He's not. He's a crack addict, Rick.
Yeah,
What?
but when he
Why?
wasn't a
Why?
crack addict, he's a
He
crack
was.
addict with an MBA. He's a crack addict who
Why?
has
Why
run
did the
a hedge
Chinese?
fund.
Why did the Chinese Communist Party give $1 billion
We already
to
had this discussion.
to
We don't
Joe
need to have it
Biden's
again.
son?
Because if you're the Chinese Communist Party and you've got billions or trillions to invest, you might as well toss $1.5 billion at this guy whose dad is the VP.
Excellent. Now let me ask you a question, Rick. If you're the Vice President of the United States and your son Hunter comes home and says, you know what? You took your son on Air Force Two, you go to China, and you introduce your son to the Chinese Communist Party, and your son says to you, "What, Joe, Mr. Vice President? While you were negotiating with the Chinese, I made a deal for $1.5 billion. If you were the Vice President of the United States, wouldn't you say to your son, son, you're not allowed to make deals with the United States' most deadly adversary while I'm in the middle of negotiating with them. Now
And
you break
this is
all
the point
ties.
in the fucking argument where I say, what about Trump's secret Chinese bank account, about which
That,
I don't know very much? And
the
what about
reason,
fucking,
wait, I'll
what about the
answer, I'll
boss's
answer,
fucking
I'll
80?
answer, I'll answer about the secret Chinese bank account. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Don't give me a list of rhetoric. The secret Chinese bank account is that Trump has businesses all over the world and he had a bank account in the country he had a business in. He's got a hotel there, I assume, and he had a bank account for that money.
Wait, I thought China was our deadliest fucking enemy, and so
It
what?
is if the Communist Party, if Trump was to go to China tomorrow and his son got off the plane with him and made $1 billion deal with the communist Chinese, that would be considered illegal, Rick. It's illegal.
So Trump can and his family can make a fucking gazillion deals with the Chinese, but
No, 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 no. It's not a deal with the Chinese. What happened was in 2013, before he ran for president, he had a bank account in China. That's not bribery. He wasn't an office holder. And if you have a hotel or a business in China, you're allowed to have a bank account in China. Do you want to be stupid, Rick? Do you want to be
I just
stupid?
I'm just you're fucking constructing such bullshit. So like
No, no,
I
the
agree
answer
it's
is he had
problematic
a
that you
bank
got a
account.
guy who
He
that
had a bank account from 2013 to 2015 before he ran for president. It's okay. You can have a bank account. I have a bank account in China. Did you know that? HSBC, it's a Chinese bank. Yep. Even I have a bank account with China.
Well, no, it's a Chinese. You've got an American bank account with a company headquartered in China.
No, it's actually I don't have a bank account. It's a credit card. It's a Chinese credit card.
So, okay,
So is
it's
that the
an
same?
American
Is
fucking
that
credit card
is no?
with a
They speak in
credit card
Chinese.
you use in America. Come on. All
But
right.
it's the
So
same
anyway,
thing.
so
It's not the same.
it presents fucking ethical problems that the son of the VP does business with foreign investors. Does it present larger problems than the fucking Trump shit? I don't know, but the laptop shit is a mix of of actual shit and looks like bullshit designed to make it look worse than it is. And I'll stand by that until legitimate news sources tell me that some of the most incriminating laptop shit is legit. And this story among all the stories that the we've looked at in the presidential campaigns and all that, this is the story that stinks the most based on the number of legitimate news organizations that reject it for being obvious bullshit. Now that
Rick,
could change between
Rick,
now and the next time
Rick.
we get together.
Okay, Rick, listen to me. Do you realize? I can't even ask you this. I'm going to have to explain it to you. ABC, CNN, CBS, the New York Times, they are not writing a word about this story. They don't. They are in the tank for Biden.
They
Do you
are writing
understand
about
this?
it, but among the
Do you
stuff
do
they're
you
writing,
understand? Do you understand that CNN and NBC and the New York Times want Biden to win the election? And so they're trying to convince you that nothing on the laptop is real, and they're not going to change their mind. If you're waiting for CNN to admit that the laptop is damning, it's not going to happen, Rick. That's
even
naive.
the New York Post, the source of this reporting, had problems getting its.
No, actually, I heard I listened to probably an hour and a half of New York Post reporters giving interviews, and they were all very enthusiastic. So instead of listening to the New York
Miranda
Post,
Devine. Were you listening to Miranda
the
Devine?
ones that I listened to, I don't remember their names. They were all very excited and believed in their story. So why are you listening to what the New York Times says about New York Post reporters? Why don't you listen to the actual New York Post reporters?
Because I think the New York Post is full of shit. And
Well,
now
then don't even bother telling me all these weird stories about how they don't believe what they're writing. Why? In other words, listen, Rick, you keep looking to CNN and the New York Times to tell you that
the
this
New
is
York
true.
Post
It's not going to
spokesperson,
happen.
the New York Post spokesperson who's been out in front of this story the most, who's been on Fox News 4 times at least talking about this, is the same reporter or commentator who said that NBC obviously was trying to fuck up Trump in the debate or in the town hall meeting because his chair wasn't big enough for him to be comfortable.
So,
So she said it was a
what does
conspiracy.
that what does that have to do with anything, Rick? You're
It just
grabbing at
seems like it's
straws.
just part of the avalanche of bullshit.
It's an avalanche of bullshit because she said that. You know what? I agree with her. It was a terribly biased town hall, but so what? Who cares? What if she picks her nose? What if her feet are too big? What if she needs an ear job? Who cares, Rick? Why do you have to divert to win? Why do you have to throw
Because
out
the fucking
diversions?
laptop story is bullshit.
And
Some
you have
parts
no
of it
evidence.
may
You have
turn
no
out to be.
evidence. All you can do is divert. Everyone watching this sees how you're trying to create diversions. You can't deal with the facts.
No, fuck you, fuck you. Now here's the part of the show where I say fuck you. Some parts, some of the information on this laptop is true. Like I would assume based on just I assume that fucking that the wife of the mayor of Moscow. Now I haven't looked at it, but I'm assuming based on you telling me this that the wife of the mayor of Moscow really did give Hunter Biden's firm $3.5 million to invest. I assume that's true. I haven't looked into it, but I assume it's true. It seems like something that could be true and has, would be easy to debunk if it weren't. I don't know. It just seems true. But some of this other shit, the deals that Joe is in on, it seems like bullshit. And I'll look into it more.
All
Um,
right, listen, I can't. It's late. I get the idea. I gotta go. Don't
all
mean to
right,
be rude, but
all right.
it's
Talk
been
to
a
you later.
wonderful
Thank you.
discussion. Good
All
night.
right, good night. See you Sunday. Hey, Lance versus Rick, Lance vs Rick at gmail.com is our PayPal address. If you'd just love to scoot us $5 or $3 to share. Oh yeah, also like yeah, tell other people about this fucking show we do. Oh, and yeah, thumbs up and faves and all that shit. Um, you know, we got rid of commercials, right? We're ad free now. Yeah, so tell all your friends it's a much less painful experience to watch the show now. All right, thank you.